The sound of rolling suitcases echoed down the stone pathway as sunlight bathed the lobby in a golden haze. I sat on the edge of the private veranda, cradling a cup of black coffee that had long gone cold. Guests laughed, kids squealed near the saltwater pool, and someone asked the concierge about paddleboard rentals. From where I sat, it looked like any other upscale coastal resort. But it wasn't. Not to me. They didn't know I was watching. They didn't know whose name was on the deed. 10 years ago, I would have done anything to be invited to the family reunion, just to be seen. But this year, I didn't ask. I didn't argue. I didn't beg for a seat at the table. I simply bought the table. Hi, I'm Harper Lane. I'm 34. And this is how I stopped waiting for permission, and quietly took everything back. Growing up, I didn't notice the gap. At least not at first. There were Sunday dinners, chore charts, last-minute science fair projects. We weren't perfect, but we were a family. Or at least, I thought we were. The shift was gradual, like watching your reflection fade on a fogged-up mirror. One day I was Harper, the youngest, the bright one, the girl who used to build model solar systems out of cereal boxes. The next, I was the one who moved too far away, worked too much, and forgot her roots. Or so they said. It started with skipped calls. Then missed birthdays. Then my name slowly began to disappear from the group messages. I remember the first time I noticed, I was scrolling through old threads and realized I hadn't received a single photo from the last family barbecue. When I asked Mom about it, she said, "Oh sweetheart, it must have slipped my mind. You're always so busy, I figured you wouldn't come anyway." Brielle, my sister, was always center stage. The one who stayed. The one who gave our parents grandkids. The one with curated Instagram posts featuring perfectly frosted cupcakes and filtered sunsets. She was their pride. I became the afterthought. I tried to justify it. Told myself they didn't mean harm. That logistics were tricky. That my schedule made it difficult for them to plan around me. But it wasn't just forgetfulness. Over the past decade, there were 9 reunions. I was invited to 2. One of them was by accident. I RSVP'd, showed up, and there weren't even enough rooms booked. I slept on the pull-out in the laundry alcove while Brielle's dog had its own suite. Mom said it wasn't personal. "You know how space gets tight," she had murmured while stirring lemonade, not meeting my eyes. "And Brielle's little ones need the quiet room." Every exclusion came with a smile. Every slight, wrapped in politeness. "You understand, don't you, Harper?" That line echoed through the years. When they changed the location without telling me. When they posted family photos that cropped me out. When my niece forgot my name and no one corrected her. I used to cry. Then I used to argue. Then I just stopped. Stopped reaching out. Stopped trying to matter to people who only called when they needed a hotel discount or a resume edit. But I never forgot. And when the last silence came, sharper than ever, I didn't panic. I just opened my laptop. And I started planning. It was a Monday morning like any other, emails, caffeine, the quiet hum of my apartment in the city. I was halfway through a logistics spreadsheet for an upcoming medical tech conference when the subject line popped up. Lane Family Summer Reunion, RSVP by Friday. My stomach clenched. Not because it was unexpected, but because I already knew. Still, I clicked. The email thread was bright and cheery, full of exclamation marks and emojis. Brielle had clearly crafted the whole thing. There was a custom Canva banner with sunset photos and sandcastles, a Spotify playlist labeled Beach Vibes 2025, and a note about Brielle's famous sangria returning by popular demand. Everyone was CC'd. Aunts. Uncles. Cousins I hadn't seen since Y2K. Even Brielle's college roommate, for some reason. But not me. Not in the thread. Not in the guest list. Not even a typo. I hit search. Typed my own name. Nothing. The same absence I'd grown used to, but it still stung. Like pressing on a bruise you swore had healed. A few hours later, as if to twist the knife, I got a text from Mom. "Hi sweetheart, hope work is going well. I just wanted to let you know things are pretty tight at the resort this year. Brielle needed extra space for the kids, so we weren't sure how to fit everyone comfortably. You understand, don't you?" There it was again. You understand, don't you? That line. Always delivered with soft punctuation, like it made the exclusion gentler. I stared at the message for a long time. Not angry. Not even surprised. Just, still. They hadn't just forgotten me. They had planned without me, again. Deliberately. Smoothly. Like muscle memory. Later that night, Tessa came over with Thai takeout and that knowing look on her face. You saw the thread? I nodded, pushing noodles around my plate. They always do this, she said. And they did. But this year, something felt different. Not more painful. Just final. I didn't cry. Didn't text back. Didn't call to ask if maybe they made a mistake. I didn't want space made for me out of guilt. Instead, I opened the private browser tab I'd bookmarked months ago. A luxury beach resort in Hanalei Bay. The same one where they planned to host the reunion. The same one Grandma used to take me to every spring before she passed. Back then, we'd collect coral pieces at dawn and drink fresh guava juice while the tide rolled in. She used to say, if they ever leave you out, sweetheart, build your own place. I didn't know she meant it literally. But as I scrolled through the listings, there it was, a small line at the bottom. Private ownership opportunity available. Inquire within. I stared at the screen for a full minute before reaching for my phone. Not to call my mother. Not to confront Brielle. But to contact the property manager. I wasn't looking for revenge. Just space. Real space. Of my own. The next morning, I didn't rage tweet. I didn't leave a voicemail. I didn't even forward the reunion email to Tessa with a snarky comment. I just made coffee. Sat on my small balcony overlooking the city. Let the quiet settle around me like armor. I had done the emotional begging before. The long text threads that started with I just don't understand why, and ended in apologies I shouldn't have made. I'd written the emails that got no reply. Called during birthdays only to be told they were just stepping out or wrapping up dinner. But this time I wasn't going to beg. This time I was going to buy. I pulled up the email thread again, scrolled past the pictures of matching t-shirts and cocktail menus, and clicked on the name of the resort, Hanalei Shores Private Retreats. The link led to their main page, beachfront properties with panoramic views and exclusive ownership options. It wasn't a rental. It was real estate. My grandmother's voice echoed in my mind. If they ever leave you out, sweetheart, build your own place. It turned out she had already started that process for me. Before she passed, she'd left a portion of her estate unspoken for a discretionary fund I'd never touched. My name was on the paperwork, but the timing had never felt right. Until now. The same afternoon, I contacted the agent listed on the site. Her name was Jolene. Her email response came within hours. We're finalizing a quiet listing for the central villa on the bluff. Private entrance. Ocean view. Legacy zoning. If you're serious, I'd recommend moving fast. I was. By Thursday, I'd signed an NDA and received access to the ownership packet. By Friday, I'd submitted a deposit. The paperwork would take 2 weeks to finalize, just enough time for them to plan, pack, and arrive thinking it was still their tradition. I told no one. Not even Tessa. Not yet. I went to work. Attended meetings. Smiled in elevators. All the while, I was transferring funds, verifying documents, booking inspections, and coordinating with estate lawyers. There were no declarations. No confrontations. Just, forward motion. I had spent a decade trying to be included. Trying to earn my place at a table I helped build, only to be told, subtly, sweetly, that I wasn't needed. That I was too busy, too much, too distant. Now, they wouldn't see me coming. They would walk into the reunion thinking they'd claimed something. They'd laugh, pour drinks, post filtered stories tagged family first. And then, someone at the front desk would ask. Are you on Miss Harper Lane's guest list? It wouldn't be revenge. Not really. Just truth. Served quietly. Ownership, notarized. The morning of the reunion arrived like a wave I saw coming miles away. I'd flown in the night before, stayed at a small boutique in about 10 minutes from the property. I didn't want to be seen. Not yet. Let them have their moment. From my rental car parked on a quiet overlook, I watched as SUV after SUV pulled into the circular driveway of Hanalei Shores. First came Brielle's Escalade, trunk packed tight with coolers and floaties. Then Uncle Rob's rental van, followed by Mom's silver hybrid, proudly bearing her blessed grandma bumper sticker. Each of them walked through the resort gates like they owned the place. Confident. Entitled. Unaware. I waited. At 9:48 a.m., I drove down the hill, slow and deliberate, and pulled into the secondary entrance. The front desk sat beneath a thatched roof open-air pavilion, the kind designed to feel exclusive. I parked, grabbed my tote bag, and walked calmly toward the check-in counter. Inside, the air was cool, the kind of chill that came from money well spent. Through the glass panels, I could already see them. Brielle was gesturing wildly, her arms slicing the air like she was explaining a crisis to a manager. Mom stood behind her, smiling tightly, tapping her phone like she could Google her way out of whatever was happening. A young woman behind the desk, early 20s, neat bun, resort polo, looked flustered but professional. She noticed me approaching and relaxed slightly, like I was her lifeline. "Mississippi Lane?" she asked. I nodded once. She leaned toward the mic and said, clearly and politely, "The owner has arrived." I didn't look at them yet. Not until I was standing beside them. "Hi," I said calmly, placing my ID and reservation confirmation on the counter. Brielle turned first. She blinked. Once. Twice. "Harper?" My mother looked up slowly, confusion clouding her carefully made-up face. "You're here?" she asked. "I am," I said. "But we booked the resort," Brielle insisted. "This is our family spot. We've been coming here for years." "I know," I replied. "That's why I bought it." Silence. Not the kind that waits for someone to speak, but the kind that says everything has just shifted, permanently. The desk attendant, bless her composure, simply printed the check-in slip and passed it to me. "Your suite is ready, Mississippi Lane. We've stocked the fridge as requested. Ocean view, rooftop access." Mom finally spoke. "You bought this place?" Her voice was brittle, cracking under the weight of disbelief. 2 weeks ago, I said evenly. "The deed is finalized." "You must have missed the memo." Brielle stepped forward, that old sharpness in her voice rising. "Why would you do this? You knew we had plans. You could have said something." "I tried saying things for years," I said, turning to face her fully. "You all just learned how to ignore them." She opened her mouth to reply, but nothing came out. "I'm not here to cause a scene," I added. "But I do expect you to leave if you're not on my guest list." Resort policy. They looked stunned, like deer in headlights, but without the innocence. I picked up my welcome envelope, nodded to the receptionist, and walked toward the villa entrance. Behind me, I could hear Brielle muttering, Mom whispering something about calling her lawyer, and a few family members asking, "What just happened?" What happened? For once, I didn't explain. Because I didn't owe them an explanation. They had made the rules for years. I had simply learned how to play better. I didn't look back. Not when they whispered. Not when my mom called after me with that half-soft, half-scolding tone she always used when things slipped out of her control. Instead, I stepped into the villa, mine now, and closed the door gently behind me. The air inside was cool and quiet. I set my bag down and walked through the open-concept living space, noting the little details I'd requested during the final walkthrough: linen curtains, local flowers, no welcome banner. No performance. Just peace. It took less than 15 minutes for the first knock to come. I knew it would be Brielle. I opened the door to find her standing there, arms crossed, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown she didn't deserve. "You blindsided us," she said without a greeting. "You made this whole trip about you." "No," I replied calmly. "You did that the second you left me off the guest list." She scoffed. "We didn't think you'd care." "That's the problem, isn't it?" I didn't yell. I didn't waver. I just let the silence settle between us until she looked away. "I'm not here to fight," I added. "I'm here to reclaim space I was never allowed to have." She hesitated, then asked, quieter, "So what now? You kicking us out?" I shrugged. "Only the people not on my guest list." Her jaw clenched. "Mom's freaking out." She says you manipulated Grandma. That this was some setup. I reached into a side drawer and pulled out a folder, one I'd had prepared for this exact moment. Inside, a copy of the deed. Grandma signed trust documents. A printed email from the estate attorney confirming everything. I handed it to her. She flipped through the pages, her mouth tightening with every line. You really did this, she whispered. I nodded. And they'll have to leave? They don't have to. But they're not staying here. She looked up at me one last time, like she was trying to recognize the version of me she'd ignored for years. But that girl was gone. I closed the door gently. No drama. No shouting. Just boundaries. Finally enforced. That evening, I stood on the villa's rooftop terrace with a glass of wine in hand, watching the sun slip behind the waves. The sky melted into gold, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was intruding on someone else's moment. This one was mine. I didn't hear them leave. I didn't need to. The front desk confirmed later that the family had checked out quietly. No scene. No goodbyes. Just silence, the same kind they had once used to erase me. Only this time, it was on my terms. Tessa arrived the next morning, wheeling a small suitcase and carrying a box of pastries from the airport cafe. She grinned as she stepped into the entryway. You really did it. I smiled. Yeah. I did. We spent the afternoon unpacking linens, rearranging bookshelves, and lighting lavender candles in the corners of the house. The energy shifted, less like a battleground, more like a home. Later, we sat on the porch together, our bare feet propped on the railing, watching palm trees sway in the breeze. I still can't believe they left without saying anything, Tessa said, sipping her coffee. They've said enough over the years, I replied. Sometimes silence is all that's left. She looked over at me. Do you feel different? I thought about it. Not vindicated. Not victorious. Just clear. I feel like I stopped asking them to choose me, I said. And I finally chose myself. Tessa raised her cup. To choosing yourself. I tapped mine against hers. There was no grand apology. No dramatic reconciliation. And I didn't need one. What I'd needed for years, was to stop shrinking myself to fit into a space that was never designed for me. Now, I had space of my own. And I wasn't giving it back. As night fell, I walked the shoreline barefoot, the tide kissing my ankles with every step. No fireworks. No fanfare. Just breath, steady and mine. I didn't burn a bridge. I simply stopped begging to cross it. They may never say sorry. They may never see me. But that's okay. Because I see myself now. And if you've ever been erased by the people who should have loved you most, maybe you don't need revenge either. Maybe you just need space. Your space. Tell me, have you ever been left out by your own family? I'm listening. Drop your story in the comments.